you're going to allocate testing effort based on those. So that's going to focus and order our testing. So it really is indeed risk-based in that everything we do is going to ultimately be based on risk items that were identified and their associated levels of risk. Now, this process, in order to work, in the 15 or so years that I've been doing risk-based testing, the thing that I found is essential to make it work is good cross-functional project stakeholder participation. This has to include both business stakeholders and technical stakeholders. If you cannot get those people to engage, you cannot get this process to work. It will not identify a complete set of risks, and it will not assess the appropriate likelihood and impact for the risk that it does identify. So very, very important that all of the right stakeholders be involved in this process. So I'm going to talk about the process going forward here, of course, and it's certainly doing the process right matters, but more than anything else, the right people involved in the process matters. This is a fairly resilient approach that I've come up with over the years, and it can tolerate a few mistakes here and there, but the one mistake that it can't tolerate is the wrong people involved in the process. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you go through this. Now, risk-based testing also looks at project risks, but no more than any other form of testing really should. Any other strategy of testing should also look at project risks. Now, it's important to be able to distinguish between a project risk and a quality risk. So, as I said, a quality risk could be something like system responds too slowly to user input, or system calculates incorrect total for shopping cart. Now, a project risk would be a bad thing that can happen that could endanger our ability to successfully complete the product, or at least carry out the project as planned. So you think about things that could affect our ability to carry out the project as planned. Loss of a key project team member, like your best tester quits. That's a project risk. Or test environments not available when needed. That's also another typical testing-related project risk. So certainly we want to identify and manage those risks, but that's going to be done in the test plan, and that's not really what risk-based testing is or should be focused on. There's a common source of confusion in people who are just getting started doing risk-based testing as they spend time thinking about project risks, and that's all well and good, but that's not the focus. The focus in risk-based testing is on quality risks. So try to keep that in mind as we go through this discussion. Okay, so what are the benefits of risk-based testing? What exactly are we trying to do with this thing? So risk-based testing is a testing strategy. So like any strategy, it's independent of project. It is a general methodology for going about testing and organizing testing. You have to have a plan that actually implements that on any given project. And if you carry out the strategy properly and the plan properly implements the strategy on a given project, you should get at least 3 benefits, and maybe 4 depending on your project. So the first one, think about the ideal testing project where everything you did went perfectly, and think specifically about test execution. If the test execution went perfectly and you took the bugs that you found and you sorted them from most important to least important, you can actually impose that hard order on them, then you could, in perfect risk-based testing approach, you could see that the order in which you found the bugs was exactly the same as the order of importance. Now, that's never actually going to happen perfectly, but you would like to create a situation where that you come as close to doing that as you possibly could. And the reason for this is that excuse me, that late discovery of important bugs creates significant schedule and quality risks for the organization. And schedule risk in the sense that you might have to slip the schedule to be able to deal with the important bug. Quality risk in that we might not be able to slip the schedule, and so we might release with that bug. So you really do want to find the scary stuff first. And because the tests are going to be run in risk order, and because risk is based on likelihood and impact, the tests that have the highest likelihood of finding the most important bugs are going to be run first. And that's going to basically stack the deck in favor of us finding the bugs in severity or priority order. Now, the other benefit that you'll get is the efficient allocation of test effort based on risk, so that you have the minimum possible residual level of quality risk upon release based on the effort that you spend. Because we are focused on risk, targeting on risk, then we want to minimize what risk is left at the end. So basically that's picking the right set of tests out of this infinite cloud of possible tests that will properly minimize the residual level of risk to quality at the end of that process. Now, the next benefit has to do with reporting of results. And one of the things that risk-based testing will allow you to do is not only to minimize the residual level of quality risk, but actually to know what that level of quality risk is, and to make smart release decisions based on that residual level of quality risk. Basically what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to decide when to release when the risk of delay is balanced against the risk of dissatisfaction. Now, without risk-based testing and without this benefit of being able to measure your test results based on risk and report based on risk, the risk of dissatisfaction, risk of quality problems always gets short-changed in this decision-making process because it's the one that's less visible. Risk of delay, I mean, everybody knows when the project's supposed to be done. I mean, that's obvious. But not everybody knows what an acceptable level of quality risk is, and not everybody can visualize that. Everybody understands what a delay looks like and what the consequences of delay are. At least they tend to understand pretty quickly once brought up to speed on it by the angry project managers. But the risks of quality problems, not so clearly seen unless you can actually bring them out into the light and show them. And that's another benefit of risk-based testing, that you can actually talk about risks that are mitigated and risks that are not mitigated as you approach the end of the project, and people can make smart release decisions. Now, here's another benefit that you might need, and you might actually receive, because the tests are going to be derived from the risks and will inherit the level of risk, their associated level of risk from the risk